All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. These were the problems that you were supposed to do on your own. Again, if you haven't done them yet, go back and do them. You shouldn't be watching this if you haven't done this yet. This first one is in slope-intercept form. So my slope is definitely 5, and my y-intercept is -3, right? Use the sign that is to the left of the number. That's a -3. The second one is not in slope-intercept form, so I need to solve for y. So we're going to do a little bit of algebraic solving here. I'm going to subtract 3x from both sides, and I'm going to get -3y equals -3x plus 12. Notice that I decided to just put the -3x in front this time. Then I'm going to divide everything by -3, and I'm going to get y equals -3 divided by -3, which is x, just 1, right? And then 12 divided by -3, which is -4. Which means my slope, now I didn't write the number here, but we know that when it's just a single x or a single y, that there is a 1 in front that we're not writing, right? It is an implied 1. So my slope is 1 and my y-intercept is -4. In the last problem here, again, not in y-intercept, slope-intercept form. So we're going to solve for y to make that happen. I'm going to subtract x from both sides. That's a funny looking one. And I get 4y equals -x plus 6. Then I'm going to divide everything by 4. And I'm going to get y equals -x over 4 plus 6 over 4. And I want to point out two things here. First of all, remember that there's a 1 in front of this x, right? The implied 1. Which means we can rewrite this as -1/4 x, because these are the same things. And on this one, remember to always reduce your fraction. So that's 3/2, which means my slope is -1/4, and my y-intercept is 3/2. So we got some nice fractions there, but that's that. Again, if you've got questions on this, something didn't make sense, you need to make sure that you are addressing that with your teacher, right? Otherwise, let's go ahead and move on to the next set of examples where we are actually using slope and y-intercept to graph the points, okay? So I'm going to look at my equation here and identify slope and y-intercept. Slope is -2. Y-intercept is 3. Now I need to use this information to put it on the graph. So you're going to start at the y-intercept. That's the first thing we want to do. So my y-intercept is 3. So I'm going to go to the y-axis, and I'm going to plot a point on 3. Okay? So that's where I start. And then you're going to use the slope to plot another point. And in this case, my slope is -2, and I want to remind you that that's the same thing as -2 over 1, because when we think about slope, we have to go two directions, the rise and the run, that is the y change and the x change. So -2 is my y change, which means I'm going to go down 2, but then +1 is my x change, so I'm going to go right 1. And you will notice that I get a point right there, which is enough to actually graph my line. The other thing that I want to point out is we could do this the other way, right? This -2 is -2 over 1, but we could write it as 2 over -1, in which case my y change would be +2 and my x change would be -1. Notice that when I do that, I still get a point on the line, and that's what's important. The slope is telling us where to find points on the line. And no matter which direction I go, down to right 1 or up to left 1, I will always get a point on the line. Now, this doesn't change anything that we learned in the previous lessons, okay? We could still make a table, and when I plug in 1, I know that I'm going to get 1 out because x1, y is 1. And that if I plugged in a 2, that I'm going to get a -1 for my y. This all works exactly the same way. This is just a shortcut, right? This is a way of graphing without having to do all of the calculations of plugging in. Let's do one more, and we'll do this one a little bit faster. Identify my slope, 1/4, my y-intercept, -4. Start at my y-intercept, which is -4, so I'm going to plot a point there. Then use my slope, which is my change in y over my change in x, to plot another point. My change in y is 1, so I go up 1. My change in x is 4, so I go right 4, and I plot another point. And again, just to show you, I could go down 1, left 4, and still get a point on the line, which means that this 1/4 is really also the same as -1, -4, because this would say go down 1, left 3. It's all the same. As long as you get points on the line, it works. All right, that's the end of this video here. Back on your canvas, there's a couple of graphs for you to practice on, so go do those. Come check your answers in the next video, and then check out our last part on parallel lines. See you in a bit.